You should have kept your mouth shut. Get out of my store.
Get your dirty hands off that glass, girl. You're staining it. You can't afford to even breathe the air in here. The words sharp and cruel came from Arthur Sterling, the billionaire owner of the opulent Sterling's boutique. He was looking at Bella Rossi, a 7 months pregnant black woman, dressed in a simple, elegant sundress. He'd assumed she was food stamp poor. He'd assumed she was a nobody. When Bella, stunned, told him she was just a customer, he sneered, "Not in my store. Get out." As she turned to leave, he grabbed her arm. She pulled it back. "Don't touch me." He slapped her. He slapped a pregnant woman across the face. "I'll tell you when you can leave," he hissed. But Bella didn't cry. She didn't yell. She just calmly, with cold, terrifying eyes, pulled out her phone. She made one call and whispered a single name. "Marco, someone just put their hands on me. At Sterling's. Yes, the baby too." She hung up and looked at the billionaire. He'll be here. What that arrogant billionaire didn't know was that Marco was Don Marco the Ghost Rossi, the most feared, untouchable, and powerful man in the city. And he had just assaulted the Mafia boss's wife.
Welcome back to Black Lives Story, where we tell the stories that must be told. If you believe in what we do, show your support. Please like this video, share it with someone who needs to see it, and subscribe for more. Trust me, you don't want to miss what happens next.
Sterling's of Rodeo Drive is not a store. It is a temple. It is a fortress of old money, built not just of Italian marble and French crystal, but of pure, unapologetic exclusion. The air itself is filtered, smelling faintly of expensive leather, white orchids, and a kind of sterile wealth. There are no price tags. There are no sales. There is only a hushed, reverent silence, where the only sound is the quiet, respectful murmur of billionaire clients and the click-clack of a $3,000 heel on the floor. And on this Tuesday afternoon, the god of this temple was walking the floor. Arthur Sterling. He was a man in his 70s, the billionaire owner, a third-generation aristocrat whose family had, as he often liked to say, built this city. He wore a bespoke $20,000 Savile Row suit, but his face was a mask of bored, inherited arrogance. He was not checking on his clients. He was surveying his kingdom. His very presence made his staff, all thin, all pale, and all dressed in identical black, visibly tremble. He was a silver-haired predator, and this was his hunting ground. At that exact moment, the grand, heavy glass doors of the boutique opened, and Bella Rossi walked in. She was a living contradiction to this cold, sterile world. She was 28, a black woman of radiant, natural beauty, and she was 7 months pregnant, her body full of life, a gentle curve under a simple, elegant, though to a trained eye, outrageously expensive linen sundress. She wore no makeup, no flashy jewelry. She was just calm. She had 1 hour to kill before her OB/GYN appointment, and she wanted to buy a welcome-home gift for her husband, Marco, who was returning from a long trip. She drifted with a quiet, peaceful grace past the $50,000 handbags, past the $80,000 watches. She wasn't awed. She was just browsing. She finally stopped at the high-end jewelry counter, her eyes drawn to a display of heavy gold men's cufflinks. Arthur Sterling, standing by the grand staircase, saw her, and his entire body tensed. His bored, aristocratic face twisted. It twisted into a mask of pure, unfiltered disgust. He didn't see a customer. He didn't see a pregnant woman. He saw a stain. He saw a problem. He saw a black woman in a sundress daring to breathe his filtered air, daring to press her dirty fingers against his clean glass. "Reynolds," he snapped at his store manager, who flinched. "Who let that in?"
The manager, a nervous man, stammered, "Sir, she's just a customer." "A customer," Sterling scoffed, his voice loud enough to carry. "Don't be absurd. She's a mistake. Get her out now." But the manager, terrified, was too slow. Sterling, with a huff of pure impatience, decided to handle it himself. He began to walk toward her. The classical music seemed to fade. The hushed whispers of the other clients, all of them white, all of them dripping in diamonds, stopped. They turned to watch. They knew Mr. Sterling. They knew his temper. This was going to be a show. Bella, unaware, was leaning closer to the glass, her 7-month pregnant belly gently brushing the counter. She smiled, thinking of her husband. "Get your dirty hands off that glass, girl." The voice was a low, venomous roar. Bella froze. She straightened up, slowly, and turned. Arthur Sterling was standing right in front of her, his 72-year-old face a purple, contorted mask of hatred. I'm sorry," Bella said, her voice a confused, polite whisper. "Are you deaf or just stupid?" Sterling hissed. "I said, get your hands off my glass. You're staining it." Bella, a woman who commanded respect in every other part of her life, was so stunned by the raw, unprovoked racism that she could only state the obvious. I was just looking. I'm a customer." At this, Sterling let out a short, barking laugh, a laugh so full of contempt it made the other shoppers flinch. "A customer," he sneered, his eyes raking over her simple dress, her pregnant belly. "A customer? With what? Food stamps?" He leaned in, his voice dropping, but still loud enough for the half-dozen people nearby to hear. "I've seen your kind before. You crawl in off the street, you take your little pictures for your Instagram, you waste my staff's time, you probably try to shoplift. This is not a museum for the ghetto, girl. This is Sterling's." Bella, her hand moving instinctively to cover her stomach, stepped back. "Sir," she said, her voice regaining a fraction of its strength, "you are mistaken, and you are being incredibly rude." "Rude?" Sterling's eyes widened, as if she just slapped him. "I'll show you, rude. I want you out. Of my store, now." He pointed a shaky, liver-spotted finger toward the door. "Get out, before I have my security throw you out." This was the moment. The entire opulent, marble-floored temple was watching. The staff was frozen. The clients were whispering. Bella was alone. She was 7 months pregnant, and she was being publicly, racially, and viciously humiliated by a billionaire who felt he was God. And in that moment, she didn't just get angry. She got cold. She knew what she had to do.
Bella stood, her hand instinctively protecting her 7-month pregnant belly. She was, in this moment, a lighthouse in a storm of hate. She had been called ghetto. She had been called stupid. She had been told she didn't belong in a civilized world. And she was done. She looked at Arthur Sterling, this 70-year-old relic, this king of a dying world, and she felt nothing. Not fear. Not anger. Just a cold, profound, and final pity. He was a dinosaur, and he was too stupid to know the asteroid had already hit. Her voice, when it came, was not the whisper of a victim. It was the clear, cold, and precise scalpel of a woman who had handled hostile witnesses and billion-dollar negotiations. "I'd like to speak to your manager," she said. The request was so calm, so professional, so normal in the face of his unhinged racist tirade, that it hit Sterling with the force of a physical blow. He stared at her, his brain trying to process the audacity. He had just threatened to have her thrown out. He had just called her ghetto trash. And her response was to ask for his boss? A sound rumbled in his chest. It was a laugh. A loud, sharp, barking laugh that echoed off the high marble ceilings. My manager?" he roared, as if this was the funniest joke he had ever heard. The other wealthy clients, who were still watching, let out a few nervous, sycophantic chuckles. "Oh, you ignorant little thing," he sneered, his smile a rictus of pure sociopathic glee. You still don't get it, do you? You think I work here?" He puffed out his chest, his thumbs hooking into his $5,000 waistcoat. "I am the owner. I am Sterling's. This is my name on the wall. There is no one above me." He had laid his final card. He had declared himself God. He expected her to crumble. He expected her to finally break, to cry, to beg. Bella just blinked. She looked at this small, angry, purple-faced man. She looked at the terrified staff. She looked at the other clients, who were now filming, openly. And then she said the single most devastating thing he could imagine. "Oh," she said, her voice laced with a cold, final "I see." And she turned her back on him. She didn't run. She didn't scold. She simply dismissed him. She had assessed the situation, found him lacking, found him irrelevant, and she was leaving. It was a gesture of power so profound, so absolute, that it broke Sterling's mind. This was the final insult. This nobody, this stain, this pregnant thief, was walking away from him. She was treating him, Arthur Sterling, like he was a piece of trash to be stepped over. His narcissistic, racist, alcohol-fueled rage exploded. "I'll tell you when you can leave," he roared, his voice a guttural animal sound. He lunged. He moved faster than any 72-year-old man should be able to move. He lunged and he grabbed her. His liver-spotted, manicured hand clamped down on her bare arm, his fingers digging into her skin like a vice. Bella cried out, a sharp, pained gasp. It was the first sound of weakness she had made. The physical assault, the touch, had finally broken through her calm. "Don't," she gasped, trying to pull away from his grip. "Don't touch me." She ripped her arm from his grasp, leaving 4 red, finger-mark-shaped welts on her dark skin. And that was it. She had defied him. She had refused his law. She had, in his mind, just assaulted him by pulling away. He snapped. He didn't think. He didn't pause. He acted. He raised his open, heavy right hand. And he slapped her. Time stopped. Bella's head snapped to the side with the force of the blow. Her hair, which was in a simple, elegant bun, was knocked loose, cascading over her shoulder. The entire store, the clients, the staff, everyone was frozen. A woman in the back, a wealthy client who had been admiring a handbag, let out a high-pitched, horrified scream. Bella slowly, her movements dazed, raised her hand to her face. Her cheek was on fire. A bright red handprint, a brand, was already rising on her skin. She had been hit. In public. By a billionaire. While 7 months pregnant. Arthur Sterling stood in front of her, his hands still raised, his chest heaving. He was drunk on the power, on the contact. He had finally made her feel him. He had finally put her in her place. And now, all that was left was to finish the kill. He turned to his 2 massive, terrified security guards, who were just now running up. "Did you see that?" Sterling roared, his voice a triumphant, righteous bellow. "You all saw that. She assaulted me. This thief, she came in here, she tried to steal, and when I confronted her, she hit me." He pointed his trembling, angry finger at Bella, who was still standing, stunned, her hand on her face. "Get her. Get this pregnant thief. Out of my store. Get her on the curb. Call the cops. Call the cops. I want her arrested. I want her charged. I want her in a cell, tonight." The 2 guards, their faces pale, looked at each other. They looked at the pregnant, crying woman. They looked at their boss, the billionaire owner, who was now a raving, red-faced madman. They were trapped. "Sir," one of them started. Maybe we just." "Did you hear me?" Sterling screamed. "Get her. Now." The 2 guards, their jobs on the line, finally, reluctantly, began to move toward Bella. They had made their choice. They were following the illegal, immoral, racist order. They were about to put their hands on the wife of Don Marco the Ghost Rossi. The silence in the store was absolute. The slap, a raw, violent act, had broken the spell of luxury. The other clients, the wealthy, civilized ones, were frozen, their faces masks of pale, voyeuristic shock. The staff, including the manager who had started this, were like statues, their professional training giving them no tools for this. Bella stood, her hand pressed to her burning cheek. The red, hand-shaped mark was a brand, a violent contrast against her dark skin. Her hair, knocked loose, framed her face. She was stunned, not by the pain, but by the audacity. Get her! Get this pregnant thief, out of my store! Arthur Sterling's voice was a triumphant, righteous bellow. He had done it. He had crossed the line, and the sky hadn't fallen. He felt powerful. Call the cops. I want her charged. I want her in a cell, tonight. The two massive security guards, their faces pale, finally unfroze. They were trapped. They looked at their boss, the billionaire owner, raving like a madman. They looked at the pregnant woman, her hand on her face, tears of pure, shocked rage now silently streaming down her cheeks. Sir, one of them, a younger man, started, his voice a low, nervous rumble. She's pregnant. Maybe we just escort her. Are you deaf? Sterling roared, his face a purple mask of spittle and fury. She assaulted me. She attacked me. Get your hands on her. Now. It was the order. It was the choice. And they made it. They chose their paychecks over their humanity. The first guard, the younger one, reluctantly reached out. Ma'am, you need to come with us. He put his hand on her arm. And in that instant, Bella changed. The tears stopped. The fear vanished. The stunned victim was gone. In her place, a block of pure, Arctic ice formed. Her back, which had been slumped in shock, went ramrod straight. Her eyes, which had been wide with pain, narrowed into two cold, calculating, and utterly dead slits. She was no longer Bella, the customer, the mother-to-be. She was Isabella Bella Rossi, the wife of Don Marco, the ghost Rossi. A woman who had survived 2 assassination attempts. A woman who ran all of her husband's legitimate front companies. A woman who had, with a single quiet order, dissolved corporations, ruined political careers, and made men like Arthur Sterling disappear. The guard who was touching her, he felt the change. He felt the temperature drop. Get your hand off me, Bella said, her voice no longer a whisper. It was a low, sibilant, and terrifying command. The guard, to his own surprise, flinched and pulled his hand back. What are you waiting for? Sterling screamed. Grab her. But Bella wasn't paying attention to him anymore. She was moving. Calmly. Deliberately. She reached into her purse, her hand steady, and pulled out her phone. She's calling the cops, the second guard said, panicked. Grab the phone. The first guard lunged, trying to wrestle the phone from her grasp. Ma'am, I need that phone, it's evidence. He grabbed her wrist. His fingers wrapped around the arm that Sterling hadn't hit. And Bella, she just looked at him. A look of cold, profound pity. With her other hand, she didn't fight. She didn't struggle. She just dialed. A single number. From memory. The guard was trying to pull the phone away, but she held it, her grip like steel. She brought it to her ear. It rang once. A click. She didn't say hello. She didn't pause. She just whispered. Marco. A pause. The guards were still pulling at her, but she was a rock. Someone just put their hands on me. She listened, her eyes locked on Arthur Sterling's furious, confused face. At Sterling's. On rodeo. She took a breath, and her voice, already a whisper, broke with the first and only hint of real animal fear. Yes, the baby, too. She hung up. It was done. The entire call had taken less than 10 seconds. The world was now on a new timeline. A bomb had been armed. A button had been pressed. She let her phone drop back into her purse. She looked at the 2 security guards, who were still holding her arms, their faces now masks of utter confusion. She looked past them at Arthur Sterling, who was panting, his rage now mixed with a strange, unsettling anticipation. And then Bella smiled. It was not a smile of warmth. It was the smile of a predator that had just watched its prey, in its last act of defiance, walk directly into a steel trap. Her voice, cold, quiet, and clear, filled the silent marble room. "He'll be here." Sterling, completely unaware of the nuclear codes that had just been launched, scoffed. He actually laughed. The sound was arrogant, dismissive. "He'll be here," he mocked, turning to his staff. "Who's he?" "You're your baby daddy? You're your drug dealer?" He turned back to Bella, his face a mask of triumphant glee. He thought he'd finally, truly broken her. "Good. Let him come," he roared. "The cops can arrest him, too. We'll get the whole family." He pointed at the guards, his power fully restored. "I'm done with this. Get her out." And this time the guards obeyed. They grabbed her, one on each arm, their grips hard, unforgiving. They were no longer escorting her. They were dragging her. They dragged this 7 months pregnant woman, the wife of the most powerful and dangerous man in the state, through the opulent, hushed aisles of the boutique, past the $50,000 handbags, past the stunned, silent, recording clients. Bella didn't fight. She didn't struggle. She didn't kick. She just walked, her head held high, her red, hand-printed cheek a badge of honor. Because she knew. She knew that these 2 guards, with their hands on her, they were dead men walking. She knew that this store, this temple, was a tomb, and it just didn't know it yet. She knew that Arthur Sterling, the king, the billionaire, the owner, had just, with one single arrogant slap, signed his own death warrant. He thought he was calling the cops. She had just called the executioner. Drug dealer. That was the word Arthur Sterling used. That was the absolute limit of his old money imagination. He saw a pregnant black woman, so he assumed her protector was a common, street-level thug. He was catastrophically, fatally wrong. This is not a street corner. This is the 90th floor penthouse of the city's most exclusive, most anonymous high-rise. This is not a mob den. It is a high-tech fortress. A hedge fund that doesn't officially exist. The room is a vast, minimalist space of glass, black steel, and data. One wall is just a 40-foot window, looking down on the city, including the small, insignificant Sterling's building far, far below. The other walls are not walls at all. They are floor-to-ceiling, real-time data screens, streams of green and red numbers, shipping manifests, and stock tickers flowing in a silent digital river. And in the center of it all, in a $50,000 bespoke suit, sits the man the city's elite only know in whispers. Don Marco, the Ghost Rossi. He is not a thug. He is a ghost. He is a 45-year-old man who does not exist in a world of violence. He exists in a world of consequence. He is a financial terrorist, a man who, with a few keystrokes, can destabilize a national economy. He doesn't break legs, he liquidates assets. He doesn't steal money, he reallocates it. And he controls 2 things, and he controls them absolutely. First, the physical. He controls the city's logistics, the shipping ports, the trucking unions, the air cargo lines. Nothing, not a head of lettuce, not a Prada handbag, not a single drop of gasoline, moves in or out of this city without his silent, invisible permission. Second, the financial. He controls the shadow banking system, the high-level, private, and highly illicit lending network. When legitimate billionaires like Arthur Sterling need to hide their money, or when their legitimate banks finally cut them off, they come, on their knees, to the ghost. He is the lender of last resort, and his interest rates are biblical. At this exact moment, 24 hours before his wife would be slapped, Marco Rossi is in a meeting. A man in a simple $5,000 suit, his banker, is standing by the desk. "Sir," the banker says, his voice quiet. "The Sterling file." Marco, who is staring at the data wall, doesn't even turn. "Sterling," he repeats. The name is a bore. Arthur Sterling. Real estate. Old dead money. What about him? "He's late, sir," the banker says. "On his last interest payment. The $3 billion creative loan you extended him last year. He's 48 hours late." Marco Rossi finally turns his head. His eyes are dead. Late? On a $3 billion note? That's insolent. It gets worse, the banker continues. Our data shows he's leveraged to the hilt. His legitimate lenders have cut him off. He's hemorrhaging cash. He's trying to close a new tech deal to save his company. He's bankrupt. He just doesn't know we know. Marco is silent. He is calculating. He is deciding whether to let Sterling live or to crush him. To call in the $3 billion loan would be a financial execution. It would vaporize the 100-year-old Sterling empire in an afternoon. He's an insect, Marco says, his voice a bored whisper. An arrogant, racist insect. I've seen his file. But his store, Sterling's, on Rodeo, my wife likes their jewelry. Let him sweat for one more week. Let him think he has a chance. The banker nods. Yes, sir. Now get out, Marco says, turning back to the data wall. It's not his business phone. It's not the data phone. It's his personal phone. The one phone that only one person in the world has the number to. Bella. Marco's entire body tenses. He picks it up. His face, a moment ago a mask of cold, bored financial power, changes. It softens. Bella, he says, his voice no longer the voice of the ghost, but the voice of a husband. What's wrong? Are you okay? Is it the baby? He listens. The camera pushes in on his face. We watch in real time as the husband vanishes and the ghost returns. The softness in his eyes freezes. It turns to a block of pure Arctic glacier ice. His hand, holding the phone, is so tight his knuckles are white. He hears her whisper. Marco, someone just put their hands on me. At Sterling's. On Rodeo. Yes, the baby too. He doesn't speak. He just listens to her hang up. He slowly, with a terrible mechanical calm, places his personal phone on the desk. He looks at his banker, who is frozen by the door, terrified by the change in the room's atmosphere. Sir? The banker whispers. Marco Rossi looks up, his eyes now two black, bottomless pits. The Sterling file, he says, his voice a dead, flat monotone. You said he was late. Why, yes, sir. 48 hours. Call in the loan, Marco commanded. Not in a week. Now, activate the breach of conduct covenant. I want his $3 billion debt due in 60 minutes. I want his accounts frozen. I want his credit lines severed. I want him on the street by Monday. Sir, the banker stammered, that's a nuclear option. It's not enough, Marco hissed. He turned to his other encrypted console. He dialed another number. Gino, he said. It's Marco. That store. Sterling's on Rodeo. It just assaulted my wife. The voice on the other end was gravel. What do you need, boss? I want it to disappear, Marco said. Nothing goes in. Nothing goes out. The spring collection from Milan? It's lost at the port. The new jewelry from France? The trucking union is on strike, only against his building. Every shipment. Every delivery. From this second. You stop it. You stop it all. He hung up. He had just launched a two-pronged war. A public, viral humiliation, which he knew would come from the witnesses, and a secret, financial and logistical annihilation. Arthur Sterling thought he had just slapped a nobody. In reality, he had just, with his own hand, signed his own death warrant, and the executioner was already at work. Don Marco, the ghost, Rossi hung up the phone. The click of the call ending was the only sound in his 90th floor penthouse. It was the sound of a judge's gavel, the sound of a guillotine blade dropping. He had just heard his wife, his 7 months pregnant wife, confirm that she had been assaulted. He did not yell. He did not scream. He did not sweep his $100,000 desk clear. A street thug would do that. The ghost was a creature of pure, cold, systematic consequence. His banker, a man in a $5,000 suit, was still frozen by the door, terrified by the sudden, glacial drop in the room's temperature. Marco Rossi turned slowly to look at him. The husband was gone. The man was gone. The ghost was all that was left. His eyes were black, bottomless pits of financial ruin. The Sterling file, Marco said. His voice was a dead, flat monotone. Sir, the banker stammered. The Sterling file, Marco repeated. You said he was late. Why, yes, sir. 48 hours. On the interest payment. As we discussed. Call in the loan, Marco commanded. The banker's blood ran cold. Sir, the whole loan? The $3 billion? We were going to give him a week. Not in a week, Marco hissed, his voice a whisper, but more terrifying than any yell. Now, he just assaulted my wife. He put his hands on my child. He is in breach of the moral conduct covenant. All of it. I want his $3 billion debt due in 60 minutes. Sir, the banker squeaked, that's a nuclear option. It's impossible. It will vaporize him. Yes, Marco said. I want his accounts frozen. I want his credit lines severed. I want his name turned to ash in every bank from here to Zurich. I want him on the street by Monday. The banker, pale as a sheet, his hands visibly trembling, simply nodded. Yes, yes, sir. He turned and practically ran from the room, fumbling for his own phone. The financial execution had begun. But Marco wasn't done. He turned his back on the panoramic view of the city. He walked to his other desk. The one with no computer, no screen. Just a single, black, encrypted console. He dialed a number. Gino, he said. The voice on the other end was like gravel in a blender. Boss, what do you need? That store. Sterling's on rodeo. It just assaulted my wife. The simplicity of the statement hung in the air. He didn't need to explain who his wife was. He didn't need to explain how. The verb, assaulted, was the only word that mattered. A long, heavy silence. Then, I'll send the boys. 2 cars. It'll be. No. Marco cut him off, his voice like a whip. No boys. No bats. No noise. This is not a street fight. This is an annihilation. This is financial. Gino was silent, confused. Boss, I don't. Gino, Marco said. You control the ports, don't you? From here to Seattle, boss. You know that. And the trucks. Every teamster in the state. Good, Marco said. He looked down at the city, at the endless stream of lights. I want Sterling's to disappear. I want it to become a ghost. Nothing goes in. Nothing goes out. Ever again. What do you mean, boss? The new spring collection from Milan? Marco said, his voice a cold, tactical purr. It's lost at the port. Quarantined. A paperwork error. A tragedy. I see. The new jewelry from France? The trucking union is on strike. Effective immediately. But only against his building. Every shipment. Every delivery. From this second. You stop it. You stop it all. Gino was quiet for a moment. Then he let out a low, admiring laugh. That's cold, boss. That's colder than a bullet. A bullet is messy, Gino. A bullet is kind. This is justice. Consider it a ghost, Gino said and hung up. We smash cut back to the Sterling's boutique, moments after Bella was dragged out. The camera of a bystander is visible. The video of the slap, the hateful words, the smack, the pregnant belly, is being uploaded. The caption: Billionaire Arthur Sterling slaps pregnant black woman on Rodeo Drive. It hits TikTok. It hits Twitter. It explodes. The view counter is a blur. 1,000. 50,000. 1 million. 10 million views. In 1 hour, Arthur Sterling, in his office, his rage cooled, is just starting to feel the first cold spike of fear. His PR manager is calling him, screaming. Arthur, what did you do? It's everywhere. Sterling scoffs. It's a misunderstanding. A lying asterisk. They're outside, she screams. The news vans. Channel 4, Channel 7. They're all here. We cut to the port of Long Beach, 2 a.m. A massive billion-dollar cargo ship, the Milano, is being unloaded under harsh yellow lights. Gino, a massive, bald man in a Union jacket, is on the docks holding Marco's call. He looks at the manifest. Sterling's Rodeo Drive. For 100 crates. Gucci. Prada Versace. He looks at his foreman. Hey, Vinny. The Sterling shipment. Container 40B. It failed inspection. Vinny confused. What? Failed what? It's clothes. Gino chews his toothpick. Yeah, I know. It's invasive pests. Yeah, it's a biohazard. Quarantine it. All of it. And, you should probably lose the paperwork. For public safety. A 40-ton crane, which was about to lift the container, stops, its red light blinking in the fog. Sterling's entire spring collection is now dead on the water. We cut to a sterile, high-tech bank office in Zurich, Switzerland. It's 5 a.m. The banker who ran from Marco's office is frantic on a conference call. Yes, I know what time it is, damn it, he screams. I am activating the force majeure covenant on the Sterling $3 billion note. The client is in catastrophic breach. I don't care about the 90-day window. He is a risk. I am calling it in. Now, the next morning, Arthur Sterling is in his dark, mahogany study. He hasn't slept. He is a broken man. His phone is ringing off the hook. He is in a three-way war, and he doesn't even know it. What do you mean the shipment is quarantined? He screams at his logistics manager. It's handbags. Since when do handbags have invasive pests? Get it undone. Click. His other line. He switches. It's his CFO. Arthur, the CFO is weeping. The private lenders, they called it in. All $3 billion. They're saying we're in breach. They're freezing our accounts. We can't make payroll. We're insolvent. It's over, Arthur. It's over. Sterling drops the phone. It's impossible. He's being attacked from all sides. The viral video, the trucks, the banks. He's a smart man. And in one final, agonizing and soul-destroying moment, he connects the dots. The pregnant woman. The slap. Her cold, quiet, terrifyingly calm whisper. Marco. No, he breathes, stumbling back. No, it couldn't be. Rossi. The ghost. He thought he had just slapped a nobody named Bella. He had no idea. He had just slapped Isabella Rossi. His creative $3 billion loan. His shadow lender. The man who owned his entire life. Was Marco Rossi. He scrambles for his phone, his hands shaking so hard he can barely dial. He calls the private banker, the one who just called in his loan. The banker picks up. His voice is no longer panicked. It is cold. Final. Arthur, the banker says. It's Rossi, isn't it? Sterling whispers, his voice a dry croak. The loan, it's Marco Rossi. The banker is silent for a moment. Don Marco, the banker says, asked me to give you a message. What is it? He says, his wife didn't appreciate your customer service. He says, you have until Monday. Then he's taking everything. The store. The mansion. The name. Have a good day, Arthur. The line clicks dead. Sterling is left alone in his dark, silent study, a billionaire on paper, a dead man in reality. He is utterly, totally, and systematically ruined. The video smash cuts to a montage of pure, systematic chaos. We see Arthur Sterling in his opulent office, his face purple, his $20,000 suit jacket thrown on the floor. He is screaming into his phone. What do you mean the shipment is indefinitely delayed? It's $40 million in Gucci and Prada. Since when do handbags have invasive pests? You get that container released. We see a sterile, glass-walled boardroom. A banker is on an emergency conference call, his face grim. His entire spring line is lost at sea, and the video of him, slapping a pregnant woman, has 80 million views. Gentlemen, he's a toxic asset. Call in his loans. Call in all of them. Now, the viral video of the slap, the public revenge. It was now the least of Arthur Sterling's problems. The story ends 1 week later. The camera pushes, slowly, through the grand glass doors of the Sterling's flagship store on Rodeo Drive. But it's not a store anymore. It's a tomb. The lights are off. The crystal chandeliers are dark. The shelves are bare. The $50,000 handbags are gone. The jewelry cases are empty. No goods. No money. No credit. Arthur Sterling is sitting alone in the center of the vast, empty marble floor, in a single, simple chair. He's not a billionaire. He's just a broken, 70-year-old man in a wrinkled suit, staring into the darkness. The glass doors open. The click-clack of hard-soled shoes echoes in the cavernous room. A single, sharp-dressed lawyer, Rossi's banker, walks in. He doesn't speak. He just slides a thick document and a pen across the dusty, empty floor. Sterling looks down. He sees the words, transfer of all assets, in exchange for forgiveness of $3 billion debt. He is checkmated. His hand, trembling violently, picks up the pen. He He signs away his store. He signs away his name. He signs away his 40-acre mansion in Bel Air. He signs his entire 100-year-old family legacy over to an anonymous LLC. He's done. He's nothing. He looks up at the lawyer, his eyes hollow, his voice a dry croak. Who? He whispers. Who is he? The ghost, Marco Rossi, who did this to me. The lawyer just smiles. A cold, thin, shark smile. He picks up the papers, turns to leave, and pauses at the door. He looks back at the broken man in the dark. Oh, the lawyer says. One final detail. The new owner? The one who asked me to, personally, oversee this transition. He straightens his tie. The new owner is Bella Rossi,